Okay, class 7.2, now we're going to solve it by substitution instead of graphing. So I'd mentioned in 7.1, if you're graphing, it only works really for integers, whole numbers. It doesn't work very effectively for fractions, because how can you tell the difference between 1/5, 1/3, 1/4? You can't. So it's just to give you an overview of what we're doing. So now we're going to solve them by a method called substitution. And it says solve one of the equations for one of its variables. When possible, solve for a variable that has a coefficient of 1. So you're looking for x or y to be a 1. That's the easiest. Substitute the expression from step 1 into the other equation and solve for the other variable. And then substitute the value from step 2 into the revised equation from step 1. That sounds all difficult, and I'm sure you don't have a clue until I start telling you how to do it and put it in some kind of language that you can understand. So let's go ahead and start with one, and we're going to do the substitution method. Once I show you, then it makes sense. They always word stuff. It sounds all difficult sometimes to understand what they're saying. But here, so we started out with a really nice one, so we can call this the first equation, and that's the second one. So we call them a system because it's two lines, all right? So what they're trying to say is if one is solved for x and y, use that one and substitute it into the second one. So we're going to substitute 1 into 2. Exactly. And you're going to see how easy that is to do. So this is the second one, and I'm going to take 1, since it's solved for y, and I'm going to substitute it in here. Wherever y is, and y is only here one time, I'm going to substitute it with 3x plus 2, because that's what it is. It's kind of a statement saying y is equal to this. So what shall we do it? X plus 2. Now where y is going to be, let me use a different color, it's going to be substituted with this. So 3x plus 2, and that's why it's called substitute. It works out really nice, okay? It makes sense. You're just substituting one into the other, okay? And that lets you solve for one of the variables, and when you get one, the second one's like super easy. So here it's just a distributive property. So x plus 2 times 3x is 6x, and then 2 times 2 is plus 4 equals 11. So then combine like terms. 1x plus 6x is 7x, plus 4 equals 11. Now I'm going to subtract 4. So 7x equals 11 minus 4, which is 7. And now I'm going to divide both sides by 7. So this is all stuff that you've seen over and over again with solving equations. So x is 1, alright? So I go back to the original, and remember, it's an ordered pair. This is where these lines intersect. So you have a choice now. You want to find y. There's two places to put it in. You can put it into the first equation or the second. Well, the first is much easier than the second. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm all about making it as easy as possible. So y is the same as 3. Now we already found the value of x. It's 1. So just replace the 1 in there. And now y is equal to 3 times 1 is 3 plus 2. And 3 plus 2 is 5. And then just like I showed you in 7.1, you can go and you can do a check and see if it works. So that's the first one. So now we're going to do a second one. Let me put a clean board up here. Now let's just look for another example. Okay, so here we go. Here's another example. X minus 2y equals negative 6. 4x plus 6y equals 4. Okay? So again, we're looking, the direction said always look where one of the variables has a 1. So we can see that this x has a 1. It's easier. Otherwise, you start dealing with fractions, which I personally have no issues with. I love fractions, but I know you guys aren't crazy on them. So let's go ahead and make it as simple as possible, because you can take math and make it simple, okay? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and take the extra step and solve this for x. So I have to add 2y to this side, so it now becomes x equals 2y minus 6, okay? The minus 6 is already there, I brought this over. So now, instead of solving like we did where we solve for y, and it does not matter which one, you can solve for x first or y, whichever one's easier. So I go back into system 2, the second line, and everywhere I see an x, I replace it with 2y minus 6. So 4. So now I'm going to write this one in red. Where the x is, I put 2y minus 6, then continue, plus 6y equals 4. Alright, so let's go ahead and multiply. 4 times 2y is 8y. 4 times negative 6 is negative 24, plus 6y equals 4. Combine like terms, 8y and 6y, isn't that 14y minus 24 equals 4? So now I'm going to add 24, and this makes a 0. I'm trying to balance everything out. In algebra, it's about balancing. What you do on one side of the equal sign, you have to do exactly the same on the other. 24 plus 4 is 28. Divide by 14, and 14 goes into 28 2 times. So we have y is 2. Now be careful when we write ordered pairs. Y is last, x is first. The first one we solve for x. So make sure you don't put the 2 into the x spot. That's where I've seen people mess up. They've been able to figure it all out, and then they reverse. They solve for y first and stick it over here, and that's not correct. Then the easiest one is go and plug it here now. We want to find what x is. We know y is 2. So go back here. X equals 2 times 2 minus 6. 4 minus 6. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 minus 6. Is that not negative 2? So the point where those two lines intersect at is negative 2, 2. So you can see. So they're not asking you to graph, they're asking you to go ahead and solve it. So whether you have a fraction or a decimal, which they have not had right now, it works out really nice. Okay? Alright, I'm going to throw up a word problem, your favorite. So let me just throw one up real quick here, and we can look at the book and go through it. Many businesses pay website hosting companies to store and maintain the computer files that make up their website. Internet services providers also offer website hosting. The cost for website hosting offered by a website hosting company and an internet service provider are shown in the table. Find the number of months after which the total cost for website hosting will be the same for both companies. So you're looking for that intersection point. So there's a point where they intersect, and after that it's cheaper to go with one rather than the other. Okay, so internet service provider, they have a setup fee of $10. So we know that setup fee is a one-time fee. So by now you should remember and know now that this would be your y-intercept, okay? And the cost per month, well, anything per is multiplication. That's slope or rate of change. That's $21.95. Okay, so I can already see that real quick if we did y and x, that equation is going to be y equals 21.95 times x, the months, plus 10. But let's go on. Website hosting company, there's no setup fee, but it costs $22.45. So you can see it's a little bit more expensive. So the y-intercept is 0. Okay, so you pay nothing to start up. Okay, so write a system of equation. Let y be the total cost, and mostly y is the total cost, and x is the month. So they always tell you. Okay, so they wrote it like that with the y-intercept first. You're used to me, and most of the time you're going to see it like that. I would say $21.95 times x plus the $10 setup fee. The other one's got no setup fee, but it's 2245. So the second equation would be 2245x, and those are your two equations, and they show that. All right, for system 1, system 2, or equation 1, equation 2. So you have to solve. So the easiest way is just to this one and go ahead and put it into here. So y is equal to 22.45x. So let me do that. Kind of writing it here so we have more space. So I'm going to substitute this in. 22.45x equals 21.95x plus 10. Okay, so we're going to solve for x minus 21.95x minus 21.95x. So that's going to give me 0.5x equals 10. Then I'm going to divide by 0.5, which is the same as half. So that means x is 20. So the total cost, because we know that x is months, right? And you could do M if you wanted to make it fit. You could do C for cost and M for months. A lot of times I change it in a word problem to fit. They happen on here to just keep it as Y and X. But we know then after 20 months, so for 20 months, it would be cheaper just to do the 22.45 and not have paid the $10 extra. But after 20 months, if you're going to keep using it, it would be cheaper actually to do this. Okay. All right, so do you understand? Pretty straightforward. Okay, so that's the lesson for today. It's just a matter of substituting into different equations. All right, God bless, guys.